to move online and get into the space of remote coaching, there'll definitely be some gems here. Welcome, Matt. Really looking forward to our chat, mate.
Thanks, Jack. Yeah, excited to be on the podcast. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, looking forward to getting stuck into what's been a busy couple of months for you, man. But before we dive into, I guess, the nitty-gritty side of things, for those that aren't aware of your background, how did it all start, mate? Where did you find your passion for fitness? And talk about, obviously, your degree and different work experiences you've done along the way.
Yeah, so I actually, funnily enough, through high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do career-wise, but I knew that I was interested in sport and fitness and whatnot. So as I sort of wrapped up high school, I got accepted into a bachelor degree of exercise science at RMIT. Worked through my 3 years there, and sort of throughout that process, I discovered I was really interested in more the physical performance side of sport and, training and whatnot. So I got a real passion for strength and conditioning through placements. And once I wrapped up and graduated from there, I moved into the fitness industry. So as you know, having to work a few different jobs, I got a job at a local gym, just doing personal training, and then had a few different things going on the side. So it sort of started out that way. And then through COVID, sort of things started slowing down, and I got an opportunity to move into my full-time role, which is now at Body Fit Training.
Very good. Awesome, mate. And you've experienced a whole range of different sort of services that we offer at Propeller Pro, from the athlete side of thing and the coaching. Talk us through your football journey. How do you go about, I guess, keeping that hobby alive while working, mornings and nights? How have you been able to sort of manage that?
Yeah, it's an interesting one with the full-time job I've got at the moment at Body Fit Training. Is early starts, having to wake up at 4 a.m. and sometimes working to 8 o'clock at night. You sort of got to juggle around the schedule a little bit and try and make things work. But I'm super lucky in the job I work in. I've got a great team, and they're really understanding of the hours, and they allow us to sort of rotate our schedule around a little bit and fit in things like training and attending footy training and playing matches and whatnot. So I've been lucky to work in a good team, but yeah, it can be a bit of a struggle sometimes to juggle all of that together.
Yeah, very good, man. And you mentioned personal training is where you started. Was that with one-on-ones, small groups, boot camps? Talk us through the different experiences you've had. Obviously, Body Fit, you're managing large groups. Mm-hmm. What were you doing prior to Body Fit?
So yeah, straight out of university, I got a job just as a personal trainer at a Jets gym. So one of those 24-hour work where I was doing mostly one-on-one work with a few little group classes that they ran through their business on the side. So that was how I sort of made up most of my coaching and my training at the start. And I was also at another gym at the same time called Studio Kinetic, which is my job was an exercise scientist, so working with people training for performance, but also a bit of rehab and things like that as well. So that was sort of my first couple of experiences and first few jobs in the fitness industry.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Yeah, great range of different roles that the industry has to offer. What's your favourite from the different experiences, whether it be the one-on-one, I guess, general population for those that might be training for an event or a wedding, or perhaps those that want to improve their health, whether it be, you mentioned rehab as well, those returning from an injury. No doubt you've had a few footballers reach out along the journey as well that want to improve their football from a strength and conditioning point of view, and obviously Body Fit groups as well, managing large group, which can be obviously high energy and the community aspect. What do you think? What do you get the biggest kick out of?
Yeah, I think my biggest passion is working with athletes and more that strength and conditioning side of things. Having been very interested myself in footy and the physical side of the game, it's awesome working with people like that who are dedicated and have a real interest in improving their performance. But having said that, working at BFT and working, like you said, with such big groups and with an amazing community, I'm really lucky to have such great member base and great relationships with everyone that I've worked with through BFT. So more from a training wise than I guess strength and conditioning point of view, the athlete performance side of things intrigues me more, but I love the community based and the community and the relationships and camaraderie you build working in a big fitness gym.
Well said, mate. And talk us through why you took on the 30-day challenge in terms of launching your own business in 30 days. For those that aren't aware of what it's all about, quick little snapshot. It's something I set up a couple of years ago as you essentially have a daily challenge, a task to complete. There's a presentation to watch where it's a bit of a walkthrough from myself, and it can be anywhere from setting up your Instagram and perhaps some strategies around marketing to launching your first product, so different services you might offer, to how to maximize to retain your clients and track your lifetime value of your clients and your business. But yeah, talk us through, I guess, your mindset going into the challenge, mate. What were some of the things that you wanted to get out of it?
Yeah, so I'd sort of decided, and I spoke to you about this early days, so I decided to launch my own online business to complement my full-time work. And having spoken to you, you'd mentioned that the 30-day challenge was an option, and I was really intrigued and interested, and I sort of spoke to you and got some more information and decided it was an awesome opportunity to help me develop, because I knew what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to have an online coaching business that sort of specialized in running and field sports and whatnot. But the nitty gritty, I guess, and the behind the scenes of how you set that all up, it was awesome to work with yourself and get some more information in that area.
Yeah, well said, mate. And I guess someone that's experienced all the different roles from being, whether it be employed, being paid, PT rates, or full-time employment, subcontractor. There's lots of different pay structures, but having control over your own online program is something I'm incredibly passionate about. I think in the fitness industry, it's great to have some control over your own income and financial security. And like you said, there's a lot that goes sort of into it in terms of setting up your own business, just from the basics of ABN and thinking of your name. Is that already out there? Do you go with your own personal name to the brand, or is it something that maybe you might want to sell one day, and therefore it's detaching it from your own name? So there's lots of little different things to think about. What were some of the biggest challenges that you found over the 30 days?
Well, I was lucky in that I didn't run into any major setbacks, but I guess something to consider was I also have a full-time job, so trying to sort of schedule in working through, allocating time to my online business and working through the challenge while still committing to my full-time job. There was a few busy weeks there where it was a little bit of a challenge, but I guess one of the good things of the challenge is that it's structured and built in a way that allows you to progress through the 30 days, and that it's not all encompassing and it's not too overwhelming all at the same time. So I guess in the busy periods, I was able to shift my attention and focus a little bit more on the full-time work. But once I was able to, the challenge was set up well, so I could just jump straight back in where I was and just continue building out and working through the challenge. Yeah.
And for those in a similar position to yourself, where they're working either full-time for themselves or for another company, and you're essentially in that position where you're trading your time for money a lot of the time, with coaching. What was some of the perks in setting up an online business where obviously you can work remotely? What's the vision with it all?
Yeah, it's handy, like you said, them trading your time for money. One of the benefits of having an online business is that you can set your own hours and work at a time that's comfortable for you. So as I mentioned, you might be busy with your full-time commitments or family or whatever else is going on at the time, and you might not traditionally have the set 9 to 5 time frame where you can smash through work. So being able to be flexible like that and work at your own pace and work on your own schedule and juggle things around is really beneficial about having something online and that you're in fully control of.
Also, mate, and what results did you specifically get over the 30 days?
So yeah, when I first started the 30 days, I was just sort of starting the business from scratch, really. So there wasn't too much to sort of compare to. But by the end of the 30-day challenge, having, like you spoke about a little bit earlier, having a bit of a social media presence with Instagram, TikTok, and everything like that, being all set up and ready to go was super handy. And just having structure, so you sort of spoke about in the challenge, building your way through and setting up the back end of the business. So the ABN, having spreadsheets and trackers and having a bit of a schedule. So going from knowing what I wanted to do and not really having much of a plan to working through the challenge and coming out the other side with a bit of structure was super handy.
Yep. And you mentioned schedule. So is that something you have like a strategy in place regarding marketing to get new clients?
Yeah. So across the week, there's a bit of a focus on each day. So something that you spoke about in the challenge was scheduling and allocating certain time to certain things. Because I feel like something that can happen is that you want to do everything all at once and you can have a big list of things you want to tick through, and it can be quite overwhelming or feel like you've got a lot to do. So I found that personally, what worked really well for me was allocating certain days to certain things. So like you said, it might be marketing earlier in the week where instead of trying to split your attention across all of the different areas, you're sort of honing in and focusing on one thing at a time and putting all of your energy into that. And that makes sure that, I guess, what you're delivering and the product ends up being a beneficiary of that.
Yeah, well said, mate. And you mentioned also monitoring and your results, whether it be leads or sales. What's your current process in monitoring that type of data?
Yeah, so using some of the advice from the challenge, I've got a spreadsheet that tracks all of the leads that are coming in, what those leads turn into, so whether they are converted into a client, what they're interested in. It might be that they're after an individualized running program, gym program, whatever it is. It gives me some information about where they're currently at. And then that can sort of flow on month to month, and you can see, all right, I've got X amount of leads in July, X amount of leads in August, and you can sort of track along and help understand how the business is tracking from the back end.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually stirred me on to create a Get Better Plan presentation. So for Academy members that are listening, from that mentorship call that I did with Matt, which is often how a lot of the content that I create comes about, is just through sort of chats and conversations and challenges that maybe people are facing. So you can find that now. It's on the most recent Get Better Plan episodes, talking about their lifetime value and how important it is to track your LTV for the different services you provide, just so you're not wasting any opportunities. There's also the spreadsheet that you can attach as well, so you can start monitoring what's working and what's not, and maybe some tweaks you need to make. So looking back, it sounded like the main challenges was obviously time, which no doubt with those active with your own training yourself, as well as managing a full-time workload, would be a challenge. For those that are facing that challenge, how did you sort of overcome that obstacle when it comes to time? Is that something, it sounds like you're quite process driven. Is it just a matter of prioritizing what you're going to focus on in each day, like you mentioned earlier, or there's some other things that helped you to keep moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. I think something that worked really well for me was early on in the week, creating a bit of a plan. So having a list of things I needed to tick off or certain items I want to focus on across the week, and having a really clear plan in place so that it sort of takes the decision making out of it. So you know that on Monday, for example, you're going to train at this time, you're going to put X amount of hours into your business, you're going to program this time, you're going to coach at this time, and however you want to set it up. But having a set structure and having a focus all the way through the week, and like you said, then prioritizing is really important too. So I really, like you said, I'm a bit process driven, so I like having to-do lists for each day and working your way through.
Mm-hmm. I remember our first mentor call, you had active clients already. So before the business was even launched, you already had a couple of clients that you were looking after. Where's the business now in terms of, I think at that time, obviously, because you're putting pieces together, you would send them an invoice for memory, or so you've set some automations in place, I know, over with your payment streams. But when you mention when a lead comes in, have you got sort of call to actions regarding like trials now for new leads, and talk us through what's sort of your goal in how many clients would you like to have with your current workload of a full-time job?
Yeah, so to answer the first part there, I think with the lead process, what happens is a lead will come in and I'll contact them directly myself. So they'll reach out to me, and then I'll book in something quite similar to this actually, where it's either face-to-face or a phone call where we go through some goal setting and work our way through in that manner and sort of set up and sort out how I can best help them and what services they're after. So that sort of works well for at the moment. But I guess in terms of the second part of that question and what I want moving forward, I don't really have a set number of X amount of clients I want, because with the full-time opportunity, this is just sort of something that I'm really interested in working with on the side and facilitating that, if that makes sense. So in terms of like an X amount of or perfect amount of clients that I have, there's not really a set option.
Yeah. And for memory, there was a running program and an individualized offer. What are the different services that you're offering? How have they evolved, your services, over the last 30 days?
Yeah, so like you said, there's more of an individualized program where they can work with me individually. So they've got a gym program, running program, and I'm constantly checking in with them every week. So it's like a weekly check-in with me. The program's ever evolving, or there's sort of that side of things. And then there's more a preparation. So someone might be training for a half marathon or Hyrox event or footy or something, and there's a set 8-week program that they purchase, and then I send that out to them and work with them in that regard.
Okay, cool. So the individualized program is something you charge the client monthly or weekly?
Monthly.
Monthly, yeah. And that's sort of like auto debit. Yeah.
Ongoing.
And what about the 8-week? That's a single payment?
Yeah, that's a single payment. So like through the challenge to set up a PayPal and just invoice the clients, and that's worked seamlessly so far.
Very good. Awesome. So, and then the 8-week program, the fact it's not individualized, do you have the capacity of having, let's say it goes off and everyone starts referring people to this 8-week program? They're doing Hyrox in Melbourne in December, which I know has just been recently launched. So what are we now in September? Yeah, September, October. So maybe in October, it's an 8-week prep for that event. Does it have the capacity for 100 people to join it as of tomorrow, or is there some individualized coaching aspects to it where there's only so much you'll be able to take on at one time?
There's definitely some individualized aspects to it, where in that consult that I mentioned, there's goal setting, discussing times and race paces and things like that. So there is definitely an individualized element, but I guess through the first month or so here and building through the challenge, it's handy that I've sort of formulated a block, like a base 8-week program that could be, like you said, not so much individualized and sent out in bulk.
Scalable, yeah, cool. That's great.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a difference in price point between the individualized program and the 8-week.
Yeah, absolutely.
Point of view. Yeah, that's great. I think that's important for the listeners to have. Having different offers. So having your premium individualized where they get access to yourself, and putting, that should be something that has a good price point to it, because you're putting your time into it. Although it is online, so you could train someone over in Perth in that one and they're following it. You're still trading your time in a sense with the catch-ups and check-ins and bits and pieces. And designing the program, where with the 8-week, it sounds like it's something that you've put in the work, you've created the bones of that 8-week program, and then you're putting in little bits and pieces to individualize it, whether it be because they do a 6-minute running test, or so it's specific to them for the targets, which is the small sort of aspects that you can adjust to still give it that individualized touch, which obviously people love, but it's not required a lot of you, so you can hopefully have a good amount of volume of people in that offer, which I think's a great one for online coaches to have that offer, where essentially it could go off and you could maintain a high volume of clients. It's a good problem to have, but hopefully it's one that you don't need to do, where if you only have the individualized option, for example, and it gets to its absolute capacity, and you keep taking on more and more, either the quality will drop off of the service, which is not great for the brand, or you'll have to start referring clients to other businesses, which is obviously not ideal. You want to try and keep all your good marketing, all your good work that you're doing with referrals in the business. So I think that's a good balance between having those two offers, mate. 6 months time, if it's 6 months to a year's time, where do you sort of visualize this business to be? Obviously, you've got your full-time role. Is that something it sounds like you're enjoying that role, so that's something you'll continue to be doing. So where do you see this business growing over the next 6 months to a year?
Well, I guess it's sort of, there's two parts to it. So firstly, I want to continue to grow the business and to get more leads and more clients in, and to help deliver my service to more people. So growing the business, but firstly as well, I sort of make sure that all the clients that I've currently got experience the best possible results. So as I sort of touched on before, a lot of my clients are preparing for events, so half marathons, etc. later in the year. So part of my focus for the next little bit is building them up towards that and making sure that, yes, I'm growing the business and more leads are coming in, but also the people I'm working with now get the best possible version of me and the best service possible.
Yeah. And it's my understanding that once, if a lead comes in on Instagram and they're interested to join your program, they'll say, "Hey, Matt, I'm interested in a running program for a 10K I'm doing in 10 weeks' time." You'll then book in a call with them over Zoom. Is that right? That's the next step?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, that calls some goal setting, and they're building a bit of rapport with the person. Then you might make a recommendation, almost like it's a bit of a sales call at the end of, "Oh, this is a service I think would be great for you, my individualized program or my 8-week program." Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there'd be scope for that 8-week program. So the individualized one, I think because it is a more of a premium one, you need that potentially that conversation with someone first, if it's a higher price point. But if the 8-week one is something that you could look at to increase the volume of your leads that you're talking about, you could have a 1-week free trial for a period of time and test that out over the next 6 months, and just see if that's a way that you can, one, you're not spending any time with the ethic, because it can be automated, where they can join. It might be just like a live Google link, Google Forms, for example. And then if you want to set up your own CRM, your own email, you can set up an automatic email that's connected to that Google form. So as soon as someone's email is connected, it's then the first week of the program set out to them automatically. That would obviously cost a little bit of money. So if you want to keep the cost down, you could just do it manually yourself. Like if you're only managing, let's say, 5 leads a month for busy times when the events are coming up, which sounds like sort of now, 5 months, if you're only sending out 5 emails a month, that's not a lot of time. So you could do that as well, where you forward the email directly to that person once they join that Google form. And then that could be a way to increase the 8-week program. And then the ones that join that after a week, when they do the 8-week program, it might be an upsell to catch up with them at the end. "How did you find it? I think you'd be a really good fit for my individualized program." So then, because that can be the limitation of an 8-week program, is when the 8 weeks done, it's see you later, goodbye. And you may never see them again. Whereas if they can continue on into the individualized, that lifetime value that we talked about before, you can really maximize, because it's the mantra that I remember a business coach telling me, it's always easier to keep a client than it is to get a new one. So once you've got someone in the business, if you can have ways to try and lengthen out that time they're with you, that could be a good process. How does that sound, mate? Is that something that you think you could add to your workload, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you sort of touched on, having the bones of whether it's a Hawks prep or a marathon prep or 10K prep or whatever it is, having the bones of that sort of set out. I feel like a 7-day trial could be something that we'll look into.
Yeah, and it's just no different to like all the big businesses that we look at, like Netflix and things like that. They'll often offer maybe a 30-day trial. 14-day trial is probably the popular one. But for your 8-week program, you probably don't want to give away 2 weeks, because that's a fair chunk of it. Maybe it's a week, or just trial these things out. You can sort of on that sheet have details to it. So for a couple of months, you might try out, okay, let's do a 1-week trial. And what's the conversion rate of a 1-week trial? And then for a couple of months, do, in your first year, do 14 days and just sort of get a bit of a sense of, oh, wow, the 14-day, my conversion rate goes up 30% when people join that. Okay, I think I'll move to 14-day, The content creation, obviously you mentioned Instagram. What about searchable content? What's your thinking around YouTube or blog posts?
Yeah, so YouTube is one of those things that is I'm keen to get into down the track. So keen to, you know, upload videos about some tips around some key injury prevention sites and some key strategies for preparing for events. Obviously, it's a pretty busy market already, but having, you know, that link to my services so clients of mine can watch videos from me explaining my thoughts and what I think about what's important for preparing for those events would be handy.
Yeah. Yeah. So video content you feel will be something you'll be more passionate about than writing?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah. And the beauty of the video content is it's multi-purpose as well. So you could post a short form on Instagram, TikTok, and then obviously YouTube. So you can cut things up, edit it, and use it a whole range. YouTube is searchable, so it's different to social media in the sense that if someone Googles, you know, an 8-week program for high rocks, and you've got that exactly as your title in Google, even if they didn't search it in YouTube, the YouTube video in the video section of Google will likely pop up if the search engine optimization is in, and it's obviously got a few hits. So it's a great way that you could put that 1-week free trial in the caption of that video and get some leads in that way. Yes, I think video, if it's something that you're more passionate about than writing, is a great way. It's also, like you said, it's saturated, so it's super competitive. But I have found it's really rewarding. It pays dividends later on. So I think I've been on YouTube maybe for 3 years. The first year and a half, I was getting nothing, no leads. And I would still say at the moment, it's really hard to differentiate when I speak to people over the phone when they're new leads, that usually people will say, I found you on Google. Did they find a video, or, you know, was it the video that allowed that blog post to elevate itself? Yeah, because I always embed my YouTube videos, you know, with the same topic into the blog post, so they sort of complement each other. But the beauty of ChatGPT these days as well is from that video, you could easily put together a blog post quite easily that extrapolates the key findings. Might only be 100 words on that blog post, and then it could be a simple post that you put out as well if you were to have a website one day. And then that way you're engaging the readers, people that prefer to read, but you're also working with that Google engine, you know, in terms of having word as well as the video as well, where obviously, as we know with Instagram, it's not something that tend to people's videos pop up on Google search. So it can be a great way to I think start early, chip away at it. You're probably not going to get benefits for a while. It's a bit of a long game, but I highly recommend starting it. And I wouldn't rush into it. Like you said, focus on the Instagram one thing at a time from a marketing perspective. That you do get quick return for your effort, good reward for your effort. But just start, like you mentioned, a strategy. You can start thinking about, okay, how is my YouTube content going to be different to my Instagram? You know, and usually it's probably going to be longer form content. But yeah, the strategy that I would start with is just maybe in your notes on your phone or a notebook is just thinking about when clients ask you questions, that can be titles that you can, and that can start if you just start recording it now. That can give you a lot of, you know, when you're in those moments like, oh, I don't know what my next video, let's say you commit to like a fortnightly video on YouTube. I don't know what my next video needs to be. If we're trying to create content where you're servicing your community, the questions that they're asking is probably the same questions they're searching in Google or in YouTube. So they could be great titles and great ways for you to form your content. And I think already what you mentioned there, high rocks, there'd be heaps of different content. You could sort of research other high rocks YouTube channels, 10K, half marathons. So then it's just a matter of finding your point of difference, you know, how you're going to make the video content different to the competitors so you can stand out. So yeah, I think it's a good idea. Park it for now. Just start some brainstorming ideas, start taking some notes and some ideas down. And you could almost use Instagram as a bit of an experiment to see what's popular and what works well, because obviously there's YouTube Shorts as well for more the short form content. So for the business at the moment, what's sort of your most important goals that you're focusing on both for yourself and in the business over the next 3 months?
Yeah, so as I sort of touched on before, helping the clients that I've currently got, like you sort of said, it's much easier to retain a client once you've got them. rather than finding new ones. So I think making sure that I'm upskilling myself, so I'm becoming and I'm delivering the best possible service. I think having a mentor and having a good close circle and a good network is really important. So making sure as a coach and as a business owner, you're constantly improving, so that your clients are constantly getting the best out of you is also important too. So I guess helping my current clients reach PBs, reach target times is really important to me. So that's gonna be something I'll be focusing on directly in the next 3 months.
Yeah, and PBs are obviously an easy way to track, because usually you'll hear about them pretty quickly when they happen. How are some other ways that you can sort of monitor or seek feedback on how you're going from your service point of view to retain those clients and making sure you're keeping them happy, particularly if they're remote, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I think constantly getting feedback and checking in and talking to the clients is a great way to get that. So, for example, if someone finishes off an 8-week block, checking in, getting some feedback, how they felt it, what they liked, what they didn't like, and that's going to help me going forward to, as I said, keep honing in and keep delivering the best service.
Fantastic, mate. And so far, you mentioned the schedule that you've got. How have you maintained that schedule with your workload? Is it something that you're posting once a week, twice a week? Talk us about the marketing side of things.
So in terms of the schedule, I try and post something on just the daily story that everyone can see once a day, just to stay present and in the minds of people, I guess. But then more of that reels and those more structured content, that's something that I'm trying to post once a week. So later in the week, there'll be something about a exercise reel or workout reel or something like that.
And that feels sustainable at the moment over the last couple of months?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's good. I think that's it. Like you said, keep front of mind with the daily stories, and they can be, the best bit about stories is they can be really organic. So you can just post whatever comes or whatever you're doing in that sort of moment, whether it be some motivation or your own training. And then, the reels can sort of showcase, I guess, your services and happy clients. Have you started getting, with that feedback, have you had, I know it's early days, but if you've got any testimonials or reviews, just some, I guess, proof that you could start to bank, whether it be video testimonials or written testimonials?
Not yet, but as we sort of in the later stages of the challenge, that's a few of the tasks that pop up towards the end of the challenge. So that's something that's on the list of things that are sort of happening for me in the next little few weeks, I guess, because I've got a few people coming to the end of their program. So that's part of the plan, to get some feedback and start putting together those testimonials.
Oh, huge. Awesome, mate. And what about Google My Business? Is that the sort of like your pseudo website at the moment, or is there a website in the works?
A website is in the works. But for now, set up a Google My Business. We're just going to keep chipping away on the website and get that going in the coming months. Yeah.
And where have you found most of your leads are coming from at the moment, if you include Instagram, social media, referrals, Google My Business, we're sort of, or any other sort of strategies? What's been the most effective?
I think for me so far, social media has definitely been the most effective, and I guess referrals. So people who know me or know someone who have got a program off me or worked with me before. I guess that's been the majority of the lead source for now.
Yeah, awesome. It's great, mate. It means that what you're doing's working. So that's great to hear. Awesome. Well, for those that want to connect with you, Matt, perhaps there's a few athletes that are interested, and also some coaches that have got some follow-up questions, mate, to pick your brain. Where's the best place to connect? You've mentioned Instagram, obviously. What's your handle?
So it's just Coach Matty N on Instagram. I'm more than happy to chat to anyone, like you mentioned, any potential athletes or coaches wanting some extra advice. Be more than happy to chat to anyone. Yeah.
And the 8-week program that you mentioned, so hybrid, 10K, half marathon, what are some other options that work with that program?
So some other options, as in,
Is there other events that people, is it like Sparta races that are popular these days, or body composition goals, whether it be gaining muscle or dropping body fat? Or are they the main sort of three?
yeah, I think the big events are sort of the main focus, but I have been working with a couple of footballers as well on the side in terms of preparing for some off-season training and things like that. So I guess if anyone had anything in mind, I guess it's quite scalable. So I'm happy to work with anyone.
Awesome. Very good. We will add the Instagram to the show notes, guys. And then lastly, I guess for anyone out there that's thinking about joining either the Academy, mate, or the 30-day challenge, what would be, I guess, what's been your overwhelming experience with it all?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. As I sort of touched on before, it was good having a general idea of what I wanted, but the Academy and the challenge together sort of points you in the right direction, and I guess helps you get there. It gives you good advice. Like you've touched on this call, there's been some great advice you provided throughout this call already. So I guess any potential coaches or potential athletes, it's a great idea to jump on board with the Academy or the challenge, because you get so much out of it from a learning point of view, but actually things that you can put in place and action going forward.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, it's been great to have you on. I think that the best way for me to sort of understand on how to provide this sort of content is, have go-getters like yourself actually do it and put it into action. So it's great to see it come to life and see it help people, sort of launch their business. So yeah, thank you for your efforts, mate. And make sure to connect with Matt, both footballers and coaches. Thank you for tuning in live. If you have any follow-up questions for Matt, I'll add his Instagram handle in the show notes. And when the website is live, I'll make sure to, obviously, podcasts are everlasting, so I'll add that website URL in the show notes as well. But yeah, thank you, Matt. Thanks for reaching out, mate, and looking forward to seeing the business continue to grow.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks for having me. Yeah, you've worked closely with me over the last few years, so really appreciate your help.
Pleasure, mate. Oh, smash that. How'd you find that, mate?
Yeah, interesting. I was sort of talking to